Breaking news, the president tweeting just moments ago about the whistleblower. He writes, like every American, I deserve to meet my accuser, especially when this accuser, the so-called whistleblower, represented a perfect conversation with a foreign leader in a totally inaccurate and fraudulent way. David Gergen is a CNN senior political analyst. He was an advisor to Presidents Nixon, Ford, Reagan, and Clinton. David, what's your reaction?
Well, first of all, Anna, I think there's one point the Republicans are right on. It was a mistake by Congressman Schiff to take that phone call and to elaborate on it and to create a narrative that could then be mocked and pointed fun at. I just think it didn't work and it was a mistake. Having said that, it's nuts for the president to be talking about treason in this environment. He said the other day, he would, basically suggested at a breakfast that whoever this was a spy and ought to be, the implication was we ought to execute that person. There is a very good chance that the name of this whistleblower is going to get out one way or the other in the next 2 or 3 weeks. If somebody goes after him, the blood is going to be on the hands of the president. Those words simply give license to crazy people to go after someone they think is an enemy of the people.
And you referenced this other tweet that the president had that talks about Adam Schiff, and I'm just going to quote again.
Yes.
His lies were made in perhaps the most blatant and sinister manner ever seen in the Great Chamber. He wrote down and read terrible things, then said it was from the mouth of the President of the United States. I want Schiff questioned at the highest level for fraud and treason. I mean, we've heard him say now, referring to whoever gave the spy information or the whistleblower information, that they were like a spy, and what we used to do with them in the old days. Now he's talking about treason and fraud with the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee.
It's unheard of. It is absolutely unheard of. It's bizarre, and it goes way beyond the norms. And it's dangerous for the president. I mean, in terms of trying to win people to his side and maintain public support, which is slipping away from him. To do that, to go, to raise those kind of questions, to take hyperbole to that level in such a threatening way, is just sort of nuts. I think he ought to be listening to Mike Rogers, who had it pegged well.
We just got some other information just in. This is from a Democratic caucus call, some notes that Speaker Pelosi apparently said during this call, saying, quote, the idea that this has anything to do with whether you like him or not, forget that. That's about the election. This is about the Constitution. I think impeaching the president is very divisive unless we have to. And the aide goes on to say that she said, I said we would wait until we had the facts, and we have the facts. And I said, when we have the facts, we will be ready, and we are. I will only close by saying the polls have changed drastically about this. Let's just look at the latest poll here, David. We know this was a CBS News poll conducted by YouGov that just came out this weekend. And now 55% of Americans approve of congressional Democrats starting an impeachment inquiry. 45% disapprove. And on the question about whether at this time the president should be impeached, we're also seeing the numbers tick up. The question being, does Donald Trump deserve to be impeached over his actions? 42% say he does. 36% say he does not, and 22% say it's too soon. What do you make of that? Do you think the tables or the tide is turning?
It's turning some. There's no question about what the direction the polls suggest. Let's get a step back. The CBS poll is of about 2,000 people. Their interviews, it's not done over a computer or something like that. It's not an internet kind of question. So it has a lot of credibility. You interview that many people, it has a lot of credibility as a poll. And what we know is that about 2 weeks ago, that the poll saying how many people support some sort of impeachment proceeding. This is before the phone call was revealed. The polls were about around in the mid-30s somewhere. Majority of people did not want to see an impeachment proceeding. Last week after this broke, the percentage of people who thought it would be wise to go forward, or we should go forward with impeachment proceedings, was in the mid-40s. And now tonight, it's in the mid-50s. So there has been a swing. Now, it is mostly among Democrats, but notice that in this new poll, among independents, which are key, as Mike Rogers said earlier in your show, independents are key. That's up in the mid-40s now, supporting the impeachment. And very importantly, very noticeably, we've talked on CNN in the past about cracks in the Republican ranks. Over 20, I think it's 23% of this new poll are self-identified Republicans who believe we should go forward with these proceedings. So there's been a shift. Now, it may shift back. The whistleblower may be a dud. There may be all sorts of things that happen. But as of the moment, the opinion is shifting. Now, the Republicans are picking up a lot of money. They've raised about $15 million, they say, to use against the Democrats in future races. And they're going to go after a lot of people who had the bravery to step forward, especially the military veterans and intelligence people who voted in the House to go forward with impeachment. I want to say one other thing, Anna, if I might, and that is about the security of the whistleblower.
Yeah.
You know, in effect, this person ought to be entering a witness to protection space in which we give maximum protection to the person. I would think in that situation, one of the things that ought to be done is the person should be allowed to testify behind a curtain. I think it would be best if there not be ways that members of the committee can identify that person and go running to the press with it.
That's an interesting idea and a good way perhaps to conceal their identity without any chance of it getting out publicly. David Gergen, always good to have your wisdom on this show and perspective.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.